Test day again today, and it's about the third or the fourth test I've actually done. I've done them live, but I've done them only I could see, but this time I'm going public. I'm working on the YOLOBOX Pro, which is the second model they made. The first one was just the YOLOBOX, now this is the YOLOBOX Pro. It's a big improvement on the YOLOBOX, and they've just added a magnificent upgrade, which means we can actually change the bitrate and the settings. And previous to that upgrade, they've just put on it chroma key, which is in fact another way for saying green screen. It's the green screen settings. So I done a little test last week. I thought it was a success. Looking at the YOLOBOX, it's got its own screen. And this is meant you take it with you, you film everything. You don't have to have another screen with you, another monitor with you. You send it live to Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, I think. There's a couple you can send it to. And I done with what I thought was a perfect good example of explaining how to change the channels, how to change the backgrounds, and I was quite pleased with it, and others were pleased with it as well. But I noticed that the video, when I went to actually see the finished article on Facebook, it was twitching or stuttering. The picture was stuttering. Every now and again there'd be a little flash, you'd see it stuttering. And more so when you were changing the settings. It looked for the world like when you were changing the settings on the YOLOBOX, then it was stuttering. But it wasn't that at all. I've been in all the settings until I'm sick of doing it. But I'm doing another test today, lads. I've done one just now. I've increased the bitrate. I've made it as high as I could. Don't ask me why, because I know nothing about bitrates. Because every other device I've ever had has been there for me, done for me. Right, so what I've done is I've increased the bitrate. I'm running at about 7,500 now, and it's 31 frames per second. Right, and there's a little clock on the right hand side where things are ticking over, but I can't see them without my glasses on. I'm running this at 1080p, but unfortunately Facebook will change it to 720p. So the video won't be so good on there, but on YouTube it'll remain at 1080p. Now then, I've got the audio set to HMDI 1. I've only got one camera on now, but I could have three. This is just for this test. Right, I'm going to start switching over backgrounds, lads. I've gone into the chroma key setting and pressed the key in switch. The two slides are default settings. I could alter them, but I'm leaving them as they are. Now I'm looking for a background for us. So the first background I'm going to give you is the waterfront in Cape Town, South Africa. Now if I get out of the way you can see it. Tabletop mountain, brilliant. And there's a cafe alongside there. I actually took that photo when me and the wife were there a couple of years back. I think it was 2009, I'm not sure now. We've been there for we've been there twice, judging dogs I was, Staffordshire Bull Terriers. And we met lovely people out there, they took us around. But this place, I remember well because of the seagulls that come down and stole all my grub. And they stole everybody else's food as well, and nobody else seemed to care there. Nobody seemed to care. Anyway, I'll concentrate on changing backgrounds, lads, because I want to see if there's any twitching with the picture. I think I've solved it by putting the bitrate up. I don't know, but I think I have. We'll switch over again. We'll do a desert island scene. Yes, nice to be in the sun, into the current bun, as we say. We continue to change channels. or backgrounds. We go in the house now and do the background that's all there permanently. But I made it into a background anyway, so if I'm away I can use it. And I'm hoping that there's no twitching up to now. People that in Staffordshire Bull Terriers, they must think I'm crazy. I'm with a Yollerbox group and a few other groups as well, Webcaster 2 group and a few other internet streaming services. But basically I'm showing you how to change the backgrounds without, I hope, without any twitching or interference on the screen. Now the test run I did just now, where you couldn't see it, I done it, that on your eye could see it, worked perfectly. So I'm hoping that this will work perfectly as well. As I said, I've got the sound only on HMDI 1, which is the only camera I got there. But if I had 3 cameras, it would only pick up the sound from the HMDI 1, the first camera. I will switch again. It's indoor. Nice of a change. Switch again. I'm trying to do as many as I can so that to find if there's any twitching or stuttering in the video. We'll give it a nice bookcase this time, a nice light, a very bright picture. As I say, I wish you could get 1080p in Facebook, because sometimes you go on there, it's in SD sometimes. It's ridiculous. Let's go again, lads. There's my old favourite bookcase. This is my own bookcase. This is my original bookcase. I've had this for a spell. I'm enjoying doing this. The only trouble is I'm seeing double, because I've been doing this I've done this for about 20, 30 times now this week. And I'll go about 10 minutes. It's a waste of time going anymore. If it doesn't twitch in 10 minutes, it's never going to twitch. This is the Swansea Slip Bridge. Big story about the slip bridge. It needed some minor repairs and they put it out to tender, the Swansea Council did, with a cast iron. And they come up with some atrocious pricing. So expensive that Swansea Council said it was cheaper to take it down. They took the bridge down, they left the parapets up, and this is years now. Parapets are still covered in scaffolding. They're on ISO, but the bridge was Swansea. The bridge was our Blackpool Tower. We haven't got a Blackpool Tower, but that's what the bridge meant to us. They've taken the bridge and put it down a walkway, down what we call the promenade. So you can actually walk over it as you're walking on the promenade. It's ridiculous. Put the bridge back, guys, for God's sake. I know this is a bit of a geographic and history channel. Right. Brian Owens canals, this is one of them. Good friend of mine, Brian, in Staffordshire Bull Terriers. But he's been sending photos to Facebook of canals and bridges, and I nicked a couple with his blessing. Some of them. Good boy, Brian. Really good. Good friend. Now he's the type of guy to help anybody. Brian. Nice boy. Another canal of his. Now you must be getting cheesed off of this, lads. But I want to get out. I want to get out filming, and I don't want that twitching when I'm out. I don't know. I'll go back now because I don't know where you got that ship. You should have it there. The British Resource. British Tanker Company, oil tanker. I joined it in 1953. I was a young 15 to 16 year old. I was a telegraph boy at the time, and I'd taken a telegraph over to the Queen's Dock in Swansea for the skipper the day before it sailed. I didn't know when it was sailing. I knew a young lad that was working on it, that was working in the kitchen. And when I took the telegraph over there, I seen this young lad that I knew from Swansea. Didn't know him all that well, but I had a chat with him. So I said, any chance of a job in it? He said, see the skipper? So I seen the skipper that day. I gave him the telegraph. I said, any chance of a job? And he was laughing. I had my post office gear on. Push bike was up on the side of the dock. He said, if you can get a letter, we sail in 9 o'clock in the morning, so if you can get a letter down to the pole with your parents' permission, they'll give you a book and you can fetch it over and join the ship before 9 in the morning. So I had to do a runner the next morning. My father wouldn't allow me to go to sea. My mother would have killed me, battered me. So I'd borrowed a kit bag off a cousin of mine, and I had that in with some change of underwear and stuff in. But I basically had to go out in my post office uniform because my father used to make the breakfast for me and see me through the door with my little bag of food. So that's the way I joined that tanker. 9 o'clock in the morning. It was going through the lock gates, and I physically had to jump off the lock gates into the deck of the oil tanker to join it. And as I said, I'd falsified my parents' letter. A mate of mine wrote the letter that I took to the pool. And unknown to me, you're not allowed back in British soil until the oil tanker lands at the British port. Any other port is no good, you can't pay off. So it was out for 9 months. We sailed around the world a couple of times in that time. And it would head to Kuwait first. It would go through the Suez Canal and go up the Red Sea to Kuwait. Min Al Ahmadi was the name of the place in Kuwait. And the only thing you would get was lime juice. You'd get off at the jetty, you were allowed to walk up the jetty, you could have lime juice, no alcohol beverages, and that was it. That's all you ever seen of Kuwait. But then you'd go to Australia, you go across to Curacao in the West Indies, you go sailing around. That trip, I'm not kidding you, was the finest trip you could ever have. Of course, as I said, but I spent most of my time in my post office gear. I hadn't had a chance to buy anything because all these ports didn't have shops where we could go shopping. And I tell you what, wearing them airy post office trousers when you're out in the Red Sea takes some doing. I'll change that again, lads, and then I'll knock it on the head because I want to see the results of this little test. I can't wait to see it, because if it's twitching, it's finished. I think this is a converted barn here. Yeah? This is another one of Brian Owens's photos. So I'm going to knock it on the head now, lads. I haven't looked at Facebook yet. I don't put Facebook on while I'm doing this because it interferes, the sound interferes between both of them. So anyway, in the meantime, Arrivederci, Sprachen die Deutsch.